Alright guys, on the video today I went into Wednesdays already because on Monday I sort of combined Monday and Tuesday's class together of how to bring in cosmic knowledge or download from the other galactic neighbors and their information. And then today, which is Tuesday, is supposed to be mediumship. But I sort of, like I said, we combined that yesterday and went into in that video about mediumship. So look at those two as Monday, Tuesday together. And I know it's Tuesday today, but I'm bringing in Wednesday's class. And so we can get a little ahead because it is a lot of information. And I'll give you a day or two on that. Or I may bring up another video tomorrow also, just continuing on with the tarot. I'll give you 2 days of tarot, but next week we'll get back to the regular schedule, all right? Appreciate it, guys. Hey, welcome, my brothers and sisters of Earth and the galaxy. I appreciate you showing up each and every week and watching these videos, or each and every day. I try to put one out Monday through Friday right now. I may put a little quick short on the weekend, but right now I'm just doing one to keep things organized and my mind straight. I'm doing Monday through Friday right now, so appreciate you showing up. If this is your first time visiting, appreciate you showing up, and hopefully you'll look forward to this information. Cosmic Esoteric, or Cosmic Esoterica, as I've called it. And so I've been doing this work from the tarot, mediumship, supernatural, metaphysicals. I've studied the paranormal, you name it. I have backgrounds in different sciences, health, alternative health, just a huge background in mechanics and electronics, just a verse of all over the place. And I've been doing this stuff and learning it. And also opening up and downloading from the universe since I was around 4. Now, the point of me even sharing this information with you is just to share what I've acquired. I can't tell you what to do with your life, it's your life, but what I'm going to give you is the tools to help you to understand yourself better, and not only yourself, but other people around you, right? Once you have clear sight within you, then you can have clear sight about others around you. Right? You can see what hadn't been seen before. You can see the unseen. Right? And so the purpose of this channel is basically just to bring enlightenment, bring more light, more electricity into ourselves. Right? For me, the supernatural is not really supernatural. It's just a different form of math and science we're not used to. So for me, I don't really bring in the deities or devils or stuff like that. I understand the mythological versions of those. And I'm not here to say they exist or don't exist. It's just I subscribe to a different version right now in my life. I grew up in the church. I got ordained, all that good stuff, seminary. A whole lot of, like I said, a lot of different backgrounds. I'm ex-military, so I have that background. So all that stuff has accumulated or culminated into a unique perspective of this life we have. Basically, everything we have in this life, or what you perceive to have in this life, is just a perception. Or a different word for that is just an opinion. So we have 8 billion people on the planet, rounding up there. And basically we have 8 billion opinions because none of us have the whole picture. So what I do is I present information and the missing pieces that you may be searching for, right? Because my mission, from my religious background, I'm a missionary. But mission for me is not mission, like Mission Impossible. It's missing ions, miss ions, right? Ions are energy, so we're missing a certain amount of electricity that our cells need to amp us up to be able to connect with our homeland or the galactic neighborhood, for whatever reason or for whatever purpose, and we'll get into that later. All right, so I teach the tarot from a totally different perspective than anyone else. With all these different backgrounds, I'm able to see things and understand the secret grid that we've been talking about for a while. And I integrate that into the tarot. So again, this is the Wednesday class. It's the second class we started last week. And this class mainly is going to help us understand storytelling. People come to you and they tell you their story. Now, it's not up to me to believe or disbelieve their story, to like or dislike their story. I'm not there to judge their story. It's their story. I have nothing to do with their story other than what they come to me for my abilities and talents and reframing and coaching, whatever they're coming to me for. is to help them make sense of what they can't make sense of. So I'm able to use my multi-senses and be able to, because I sort of in one sense desensitize from their story. It doesn't mean I'm apathetic, it means I'm empathetic and sympathetic, right? Because that's part of the path. Being an empath is part of the path and the plan of that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to the video that's about that, this, Shambhala hierarchy, and so on and so forth. And so what I'm doing is just helping people take responsibility for their thoughts, their actions, and the emotions around whatever story they've told themselves. So they're just going to present me with their story. I'm going to, at least the best I can, is to stay and remain unbiased. Yes, we all have a little bias in everything. But for now, I'm just here to help people reframe their lives and their mind, their state of mind. All right? So we'll touch on how to interpret or listen to a client's story, and we do this through deep listening, devotional listening, and we're there to hear their story and help them make sense of their story. I'm here to identify from which realm they're questing ions from, or from where are they asking their questions, or where do they want their insight. And what I mean by that, it depends on what realm, the physical, the mental, the spiritual, or we've also talked about the mechanical, chemical, electrical, or the causal, astral, etheric, and galactic and universal realms. So we have to identify from where are they asking this question from, and for what reason are they asking this question. So we're going to identify what types of arcs are they missing, right? And types of arcs are archetypes, right? That's sort of the right brain version of archetypes. For me, it's just types of arcs. So certain cells within their body aren't connecting or relating to other cells, which then their body and their organs and their mind and brain is not getting or are not getting enough, not getting enough electricity. And if they don't, then they're going to feel depressed and less than, and they could and be sad and all that good stuff. And that's what I'm here is to bring light into their mind, or enlightenment. Mint means mind. So again, we're just going to identify what parts are they missing, right? The story's missing something, so we're going to help fill in that blank by reframing. Make sense, guys? All right, let's move on. All right, and again, for what reason? Why are they coming to me? For what reason? Right? Everyone has to have a reason. For what realm? Why are they wanting to make this connection? Right? They have to have a reason for coming to me. And just sort of a review, and this could be astral, cosmic, it could be any of the realms, but I'm just putting that on there because we need to open and establish a connection to their higher self, right, through different portals. And then, again, different realms, portals, gateways are all the same. And so they have experienced, like my clients have experienced something, and they have given it an interpretation. They've added energy to this story, which gave it a meaning. And this meaning then has an effect on their life, or their mind, or their body, or their health, wealth, love, which then causes them to act a certain way or behave a certain way, which then this creates habits and cycles within a person's system, their body, their mind, their daily routine. And again, this is all what they get out of this life experience is they have an outcome. So when they're coming to me, the purpose they're coming to me is to have a different outcome, or so that is what it should be, right? We'll see, but the equivalence of this is that from, again, you had to have understand my previous videos of understanding the structure of the universe from no thing to thingness. And so the first step is that, and out of that comes this, and out of this comes Shambhala, and there's your Shambhala here. And yes, it's spelled many different ways. You'll see me spell it many different ways throughout my videos. And then we have a few more steps, but then we have the major step of hierarchy, and this is where we're trying to arc, there are ions or cells within their body that aren't arcing. We're going to try to see if we can't get them to a higher arc, all right, or just get them started on a path, their path. And then we'll eventually get to their understanding that they are the creator of their existence. That means they have to take responsibility for their thoughts, actions, and emotions. Right? And once they understand that, then they'll have an outcome. And that's what we're doing, is trying to get them to understand their life experience and come out with a different outcome. Or we also know this is present state to desired state. right? And there's your that, the Shambhala hierarchy, two realms in the stages, right? So there's physical, mental, spiritual, mechanical, chemical, electrical. People also want to understand their past, present, and future. And again, for me, it's all happening at once. If I'm up on top in a helicopter looking down a parade, I see the entire parade all happening at once. So there's no past or present. It's all in the moment. But people also, basically, everything can be put in a triune within our consciousness. And that's all the questions people come to me for, or the reframing is it's going to be under either health, wealth, or love. And those three can be interactive with each other. The love of money, a healthy financial portfolio. You see how they can interchange. So we got to understand what is it they want, health, wealth, or love. So we got to know what realm from health, wealth, or love, and casual, etheric, or astral. And we'll get into that later. Remember, these are the realms. So when they come to me and they're using language such as I, me, I'm the victim, it's their fault, everyone hates me, I know what realm they're in essence. Right? They're in the physical realm. If they talk more of being submissive, nurturing, or they're finally making choices, but they still don't understand all the consequences of their choices or how their choices are having an effect on them, then I know they're in their mental realm. And then spiritual realm is that they're basically committing, commanding, demanding, dedicated, disciplined, a higher realm of words. So depending on what kind of words you're using will tell me and help me identify where they're at. So when they come to me, this is a client's story. Now, keep in mind that each one of these boxes is physical, mental, spiritual, mechanical, chemical, electrical, or the causal, astral, etheric, galactic, universal. Again, these realms just keep going and going and going. They don't stop, but I'm just giving you a short version. In other videos, I've broken down that there's just thousands and thousands of these, which, as you can see the little backdrop here, there's just dimensions after dimensions, or diamond ions. Right? So a client comes to me, and again, keep in mind that they're coming to me with a story, and I'm going to identify within which realm. Is it a spiritual or an electrical issue they're having in their bodies, life, or whatever? Because again, everything in the physical life is just energy. Money is energy. Health is energy, right? Belief systems are all an opinion that's ran through the electricity of the brain. So again, within each block here, or each realm, or each micro, there's stages. In this block up here that you see, that is the physical, mental, spiritual, physical, mental, spiritual, physical, mental, spiritual stages. So within one block here, I have to identify which stage they're at and what realm within this one stage or one realm they're in. I know that's confusing, but again, I'm just giving you the overview of this stuff, because eventually you're going to you have to understand the tarot from this dimension, because if you want to tap into the larger scheme of the higher frequencies, then this is the blueprint, the schematic that needs to be understood to get you to connect you to the higher realms. So in mediumship class, that we can connect to the higher realms, right? And if you watch Monday's class, and actually this is Tuesday. I'm off on Tuesday's class, so I'll have to go back and change that. So the client comes in to have a blank slate. So I got to figure out from where are they asking their questions from. Physical, mental, spiritual, health, wealth, love, what dimension, what realm, so on and so forth. Right? And we've seen this. So these are all the different realms. Physical, mental, spiritual stages we've talked about. Again, each one of these blocks have these realms, and each one has a frequency: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Right? And then we got the causal, divines, answers. So there's a lot of names, and I don't want to get you overwhelmed with the names. But we need to understand that each one of these realms, and these can be called whatever, but they have 1 through 7, so it's 777, which is 21. 3 7s are 21, but we're just continuing the frequency just so we don't get confused with having 1 through 7, 1 through 7, 1 through 7, right? And each one of these is a physical realm, mental realm, spiritual realm, or physical stage, mental stage, spiritual stage, or mechanical, chemical, electrical. Keep all that in mind, guys, as we go forward. Again, I'm going to ask them about, as they tell me their story, I'm sort of going to determine if it's a health, wealth, or love. Now, just because they're telling me a story and I'm hearing their tones about a physical issue, underneath I may be feeling that it's a spiritual or mental one. So when I give the reading, the tarot reading, or a grid reading, or universal reading, whatever you want to call this, um, I'm able then to refrain from that position. So most of the time when I try to refrain back to a client, if they're on a physical realm in their head, then I'm going to come at a mental realm or mental stage, reframing to get them to jump up or arc that ion. I'm jumping them, I'm encouraging them, using their heart, opening their mind, and then to unfold that moment and then see if I can get them up magnetically through my words, through my framing. So by me amping up my energy or opening up to the higher realm, a realm higher than them, then electromagnetically it's going to attract them to what it is I'm saying, so then they can open up if they choose. I'm not here to force anyone to do anything with their stories other than what they want to, but I'm going to challenge them and encourage them, electrically speaking, magnetically speaking, to see if they're willing to see what I'm saying is attractive, or are they going to repel it. Don't worry about all this other stuff. That's a deeper class. So for instance, when a client, now that we've determined where they're coming from, physical, mental, spiritual, health, wealth, love, whatever trinity there is, and as they tell me their story, we've looked at the cosmic grid and the cosmic blueprints. We'll look at them again today briefly, but these are in essence the primary, or again, the essence of what each one of these blocks or portals or realms represent, right? As you build an antenna, you have to have a structure. You have to have a mast, an antenna, if you will. That is a certain material. That antenna then needs to be connected with wires, and that wire then needs to be connected with some sort of energy source or battery. Right? So each one of these have a different components. Right? And then when the electricity is working, then we can receive and transmit signals. And then there's an instrument that helps us transmit or send that message. Right? Be it telegraph, Morse code, FM, AM. Right? We need all that to work together. And that's what we are. We are that human transmitter receiver. So I'm trying to get you to reframe, right? Literally, cosmically reframe the shell of which you inhabit right now. So by being able to understand that each one of these are a component in a big giant apparatus called you, which is the pyramid, which is the fire in the middle. So the fire is electricity that we're trying to get to transmit and amplify out into the higher cosmic realms, so then that you can begin to receive messages, right? So this is medium and tarot all tied into one. So each one of these words that you see here are a rudimentary basic construct of the component that's needed within these realms, all right? Just keep that in mind. Again, as you keep watching these classes, this will make more and more sense. But anytime you hear something new, it can be confusing. So I'd encourage going back and just watching this video 4, 5, 6 times until it starts making sense. And if you don't, leave me a comment below, all right? So this first block that comes into existence, if you will, is a beginning. And then this beginning is motivated or moving. Right? It's either excited to move or not excited to move, right? It's amused or not amused. And then as the next block or component is that we have to accept this movement, right? We have to open up, receive this movement, right? And then we have to take action on this movement. And as we take action on this movement, it's going to then have us perceiving or believing things, right? That outcome we talked about earlier. We had an experience and then we have a belief. This is also tradition, ways of looking at it the way we did before, right? Looping, mental loops. We see something and we're trying to change our life, but we keep doing the same thing, insanity, right? Einstein understood the principles of not only psychology, but also esotericism, right? So then after we have this tradition or this way of doing things, we get to make a choice, repeat it or do something different. And then this is either going to create stability or instability. Right? And we've already been over all these in past ones, so I'm not going to go over each and every one of them. But what I want you to do is just listen to that when a client tells me their story, my brain is flipping on or off switches. These are all ones and zeros. We'll just say blue is normally, right, the cosmic blueprint, right? It's open, the story's open. But when they start telling me their story, lights will come on, which tells me what they're telling me, but I'm also listening and observing what they're not telling me. I'm listening between the lines because I'm deep listening with my open heart. And so as this is sort of like cosmic bingo, as they say certain things, I know what category that it's under, what essence of this cosmic grid, right? This is a light board, a computer board, and switches are flipping on. This is your DNA in your body, literally your DNA in your body that's switching on or off cells in your DNA. Right? That then causes the electricity to go through it or not. It closes it off so your organ can't get that electricity, or your mind's not able to comprehend because you cut that cell off, right? Because of this looping mentality, right? Which creates instability. So every one of these things have a verse, a verse, an adverse, and an inverse, right? And so this adverse is going to come in your life as an adversity, an obstacle. And none of this is good or bad, right? It's your perception of it. And so there's an inverse, right? Opposite of verse is the inverse. It's sort of upside down, the opposite. And that's what I'm saying. If it's stable, then it's instability, right? Where you're just using the opposite, the inverse. So the ones I have lit up here, after the client tells me their story, then I'm going to take each one of these in the order that they gave them to me. Right? Now they pop them. This can all come in. I'm just putting this in a simple order right now. The first one down bottom in the physical realm, you're going to move. The next one that comes in is perseverance, right? And then fair, transform. But any of these can be in any different order. And if they come out of order, then I know how to reframe them back in order. And I'll give you an example of that here in a minute. But just say right now, so these up here that they're telling me in between, there's missing ones that are off. The blue ones, if you will, are off. They haven't told me that. Right? That's the story in between. This is what they're missing. So I'm here to enlighten them by turning these or arcing these switches on, which then eventually turns and arcs the electricity through their DNA that then turns on that DNA sequence. Make sense? You know, it's a lot of left brain stuff, right? But again, this is reading the tarot, or we'll turn it into the tarot. Right? This is what they did in tradition, right? In the traditional belief system, they gave it a symbolism, and then gave it stories and characters, or archetypes, types of arcs. So anyway, so let's look at our sentence. So this is what the person's telling me of what's happening or is not happening, what's on or what's off. And so let's, for an example, say this person is at a job. And let's say they're ready to move on beyond the job that they're on, right? They've persevered through this job, but they find out that they're being treated unfairly. Again, the inverse or adverse. That they're being treated unfairly. So they're looking to transform their life, right? Transformation, form different ions. And they want to do what's more passionate to them, or pass the ions, or be able to live freely, unencumbered, out of debt, right? Or at least have perceptions that are freeing. Right? And then but they have fears and hopes about moving on. Right? So this is in essence what I've extracted or extrapolated from that client's story. Right? So then I'm able then to then start reframing. Right? And then I'm able to help them reframe with what's missing. I'm like, so these are what they told me. The ones, we'll call these on for now, and the blue ones are off. So the first one before move is begin. All right, so my first reframing question is going to be, all right, well, where do you need to begin? What's your first step to move out of this job, this house, or whatever the example, right? And are you willing and ready to accept the consequences? Are you ready to receive and open up to new information? Do you have the discipline, right? Are you ready to take authority over your own ship, authorship? Are you ready to move your own ship? Not by anyone else's unfairness, right? Or that it's just not working out for you, perseverance. Right? Do you have the action and discipline ready to move forward? Right? Are you ready to look at these different belief systems? Right? About fairness, about equality, right? Who gave you these definitions? What do you feel about it? Right? What feels unfair about that? Are you ready to transform those words, right? But we need to look at those beliefs, those traditions that you grew up with, and are you ready to change them? Right? If it is a male-dominated society and you're a woman, then are you ready to persevere to that unfairness or that inequality and stand up for yourself with discipline and authority? Right? And if you're not going to, Mary Kay Cosmetics, she grew up in a male-dominated world that way, and they never gave her any sort of respect until eventually she was one of the highest sales people, but they still didn't advance her. So long story short, she started her own company, and you see where that got her. Right? She made a business ran by women for women, which is excellent. Right? So she changed everything. Right? She made a choice that she loved, not that she didn't love. Not bitch and moan and be the victim of the system. She did something about it. Right? If you ever watch Madonna's story, the pop artist, she basically made all her moves herself with discipline and authority. She hustled. She made it all happen. She wasn't part of or she wasn't identified and recruited by some Hollywood or the music industry. She worked herself all the way up, and because of that, that work paid off, and she changed the way we see music, and every woman in music was changed because of that, and men, right? Because she created a stable environment. So where are you ready to create a stable environment, a balanced environment, right? And so we know this perseverance. So we know that you're ready to, it's per the service. Are you ready to serve what it is you're here to do, your passion, right? There's your passion up here. I heard that. So I'm reframing things back at you. Well, let's reflect on something. What is your perception, about your work ethics? Are you disciplined enough, right? Because these are all turned off. These blue ones are turned off. So I'm not hearing them, so I need to hear it from my client, right? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to persevere? Are you ready to reflect on the way you've been perceived in life? Now you're ready to return to that same industry. Right? If you love music but you didn't like the industry you're working for, create a new industry, an indie company or something. And then you can become yourself, right? And then when things don't work out, you have a balanced state. Are you ready to stay tempered? Right? Can you stay balanced? Right? Stability. There's that stability right underneath it. And then we have your passion. So are you ready when push comes to shove? Are you going to quit, go back to the old ways, or you're going to force yourself through it, right? And this is where this force, right? The force will be with you. This is the force of the universe, right? You can either force it to happen, or you can give into the force, right? All of it's your choice. And so that's where you make the connection. You start connecting to the higher or arcing ions, and you start bringing those ions in. We look at these spheres and turn them into not so much hopes, but we look at the possibilities. If you look at my video in the past of the veil of possibilities, the realms of possibility, look up that video and watch what I'm talking about hopes. Hopes is not your traditional version of what you hear. Hope is not some guesswork. It's actually all the thoughts that you put in, and they're all in one place, and you can observe them in the higher realms. But if you don't have those higher realms, you got to come to a guy like me, a medium, right? I have a mediumship. I can contact higher ships or higher realms, or lower ships or lower realms. And so you start activating the cells within that DNA, and it starts coming on. The amino acids kick in, all the biological systems kick on, and so you actually gain true insight, and then you get the outcome you wanted. So you have desired state. You had present state to desired state. You started down here in your present state. So you started out here on your present state, and then went to the desired state. You just walked in and reframed each part of that client's missing pieces or missing ions. And as I reframed each one of these to this client, they start reconnecting the pieces. And so they gave me their first thoughts, be it in the physical, mental, or spiritual realms. Or mechanical, chemical, electrical. And then we had an outcome. So 1 through 7. 1 is the start, 7 is the finish. And so once they understand all their physical things they need to do, then they need to understand all the mental steps they need to take. And once they have the mental steps, they then have the electrical activation or arcing the ions to make that move, which then change the chemical outcomes, which change the mechanical outcomes of your life. That makes sense? So then that person, we can then fill in all the blanks. We can turn all these on, because now all their ions are on. They're not missing ions anymore. Now as they begin to expand and climb up the electrical ladder, their stairway to heaven, then they'll encounter the next realm, which things are going to be off and on, and then they can come to me on those realms, on the mechanical, chemical, electrical realms, or the galactic realms, or the universal, or the dimensional realms, right? All right, guys, and then once we understand that, then we're going to understand, and again, these are the same basic root words that we're using in that last example, but what we're also going to understand that each one of these roots have an ionic essence, and then we've named these ionic essence. So the beginning is the magician, the muse is the reception, the mother is the nurturing, receptivity, that is action. Priest is traditions and belief systems, lovers and choice, same thing, chariots, balanced movement, strength, hermit, reflective perception, wheel of fortune, taking a return to what it is you want to do, return, justice, fair, unfair, right? Hangman is doing things differently than what everyone else is doing them. Birth, death, resurrection, transformation, death, temperance. So you see that everything that we're doing, we had to learn the essence first before we got the names. To learn the name and then the essence is sort of learning things in a reverse order, which that's how 99% of the people out here in the classes I've taken and research is how they do it. They learn this way. Well, I'm teaching you the true esoteric way, that we're looking at the unseen energy, the invisible sequence, before it became a thing. So we went from that all the way to the seven consciousnesses. We went from the unformed to the form. Now you know how the form and how it was made. Now we have a better understanding. Now we can tap into the higher frequencies. This makes sense, guys? All right, so next time maybe we'll get the cards out and we'll understand the majors. And these are the majors that I'm showing you. These are the major frequencies. And then if you go back and look at this grid up here, these are the minors. These are the macro minors. These are all the minor sequences. Each one of these are a minor. We have to go through the minors to get to a major. And once we complete all 7 frequencies, we then go up an arc. That then is another major card. So each one of these are major cards, right? All these majors, ones behind these are majors, behind these are majors. But we have to go through the micro stages or gates or the portals to get more electricity. Hopefully that's making sense to you guys. I appreciate you hanging out. And if it is a little confusing, leave me a comment. Let me know what I can clarify for you. And definitely like, subscribe, videos. There you go. If you need to, you can look at my book. They're all on Amazon, just like under Charles Marshall or the Soul Mechanic. And you'll see all my books on there. You can order those. And I appreciate all the support you're giving me, guys. Appreciate every one of you.